God.
It's not even a question.
Okay. Why do you hate God?
This is ridiculous.
Why do you hate God? Answer the question.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the YS channel. So today's movie that I'm going to review and discuss is called God's Not Dead. So this is definitely a cult classic or a cult favorite due to its religious nature and everything. However, this is a good movie, bad movie, in between. Stay tuned to find out. I guess, spoiler alert, there will be spoilers in the discussion of this movie. So if you haven't seen it, you've been wanting to see it, turn away now. Anyhow, so the main plot of the movie, God's Not Dead, follows the story of Josh Wheaton, a college student who finds himself in a philosophy class taught by an atheist professor. And this is going to be a theme that plays out very often throughout the movie. When the professor challenges his students to prove the existence of God, Josh decides to take a stand and defend his beliefs. Throughout the film, we see Josh face numerous obstacles and opposition as he fights to stand up for his faith. And obviously, since Josh Wheaton is the primary character, along with the professor, who primarily serves as the antagonist of the movie, I'll just get this out of the way. So, Josh Wheaton character is played by an actor named Shane Harper. And then, and again, he is a likable, your bright-eyed college student protagonist, right? And then he does kind of go a significant character arc throughout the movie. He goes from being a timid, he's not too sure about his, his faith and his ability to defend it, to being very confident in his belief. And then, of course, there are circumstances and events that happen throughout the course of the movie that reaffirm his religious beliefs and everything. And, of course, again, for every good, strong protagonist, you have an equally strong antagonist. In this case, the antagonist of this movie is named Professor Radisson. And he's played by an actor named Kevin Sorbo. Radisson is a staunch atheist who challenges his students, again, to prove the existence of God, because he's like, God doesn't exist. And then, he has no belief in anything spiritual or religious at all, right? And, of course, the dynamic between Josh and Professor Radisson is the central conflict of the movie. And, of course, their little clashes with each other is what drives the movie forward. So, again, the overarching themes and messages throughout the movie, the movie does tackle numerous themes, of course. The primary one is that of your religious beliefs, right? And, of course, if you're very convicted and you strongly believe, again, as Christians, if you strongly believe it, you can defend it against like the atheists and the unbelievers and those who wish to just pretty much shit on it, which is what the Josh Wheaton character does throughout this movie. And then, there's a great dynamic between the two characters that does kind of keep you hooked in. But as the primary theme and message, it's just standing up for your beliefs. Now, this movie is directed by Harold Kronk. And then he does bring a very visual, stunning, emotionally resonant experience to the screen here. Now, one of the reasons why this movie actually works so well is, despite its religious and spiritual themes, is grounded in reality as far as the production, the set, the characters, the locations. A lot of it takes place like in homes, classrooms, school campuses, stuff of that nature. Nothing really flashy. This is a very grounded movie overall. I like to call this, even though it's not a Hallmark movie, I like to call it a Hallmark movie, because it is something that you would probably see like on the Hallmark Channel. It has a similar production value to it. And this is not a knock on the Hallmark movies if you're a fan of them. It's just, it's a high budgeted movie, but, they do try to bet their best to get like veteran actors, and then some young and up-and-coming ones, to mesh them together to create something that's compelling to watch. But with this movie, I do feel like Harold Kronk does a decent job, with the cinematography. Again, this movie doesn't overdo anything, and you don't get anything flashy, as I just mentioned. But some of the angles and close-ups and everything kind of adds to the tension. You kind of makes you feel what the character is feeling to an extent. He does a decent job of it with this movie. And then, again, like the sound or the sound effects and the score, it's, again, they don't do anything outstanding here. They got budget constraints, studio constraints with it. But, just things of, with them, going through, different buildings and whatnot. The movie is very clean, for the viewer, a very clean audio experience. I'll say that. It's not too loud, and it's not too soft. Everything's crisp. That's the best way to put it here. But overall, if you're a fan of Christian movies, especially Christian movies, this is definitely one worth checking out if you haven't checked out yet. If you're not a fan of Christian movies, or you can't tolerate anything religious, it might still be worth checking out for you. It may or may not sway your beliefs. That's up to you as the viewer. But again, if you're totally against anything, spiritual at all, and you just don't want to get involved, and avoid this movie. Now, in the realm of Christian movies, I mean diehard, straight to the core Christian movies, this one is a definite A. It's very well done, in that regard, in that genre. As an overall movie, again, as I mentioned before, it has you can't knock the production value. The director, they're doing the best with what they're given here. If you remove the spiritualness of the movie, overall, I would give it a B. It's not a bad movie at all. And then, I've seen it a few times, myself personally. It's not amazing. It doesn't pull you in like a movie like Goodfellas or something does, or a Quentin Tarantino movie with all the dialogues. But there's enough going on that keeps you engaged. And then even the professor, who's a staunch atheist, he has his own little character arc. And then at the end, he does have a better, he's less of an antagonist to Josh, right? And then they kind of agree to disagree kind of deal here. Overall, he becomes less of a dick. The best comparison for this guy honestly would be Professor Snape from the Harry Potter movies. That's the best way to describe his character. Starts off as an ass, and he's still a bit of an ass, but he's on your side kind of deal. Even though he may not seem like it, he is. That's the best way to describe this guy. But anyhow, thank you for tuning in for this review of God's Not Dead. Again, check it out. And more importantly, drop a like and subscribe to this channel. We do greatly appreciate it. Until the next time, later.